think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show. Today we got the legend himself coming back to the channel by the name of Jim Rogers. How you doing today? I know you don't like me puffing you up, man, but I just wanted to say that. Just see how you react.
Daryl, I'm happy to be here, whatever you say, but the less you say, the better.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually want to start us off with a quote. So we talked quite a bit about quite a few things when you came on the channel before, and I have this quote, and it kind of just reminds me of you. It's a quote by Socrates. It says, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." So, I mean, and you've wrote some great books. You've done a lot of things in the investment community, but you stay humble and you tell people they need to come to the Money Level Show to get all the answers. So, what you think about that quote?
Well, I have learned, Daryl, that I grew up as a simple person from a backwoods town in a small state, and I didn't know anything then. I've tried to learn a lot since. I've made many mistakes, but I'm trying to keep going forward and have fun. So far, so good. But boy, have I made mistakes.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're both two country boys trying to make turn a dime into a dollar. That's what I was kind of thinking about.
Well, I learned from you, Daryl. So whatever I can learn, I will learn from you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I posted a few clips from our previous interviews. As of recently, I was just reflecting on just some of the things you were saying, and we're actually seeing those things come to fruition. I posted a clip about markets or crashing or correcting, and you had mentioned that, and we saw a lot of these stocks, take about a half a haircut. They just imagine like a big fro, and then just the stocks just like cut halfway off. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't think, I did think that those stocks were overvalued. I mean, especially when you get into the growth sector, a lot of the Shopifys and all these companies that people were just going crazy over. And we saw those stocks actually take over a 50% haircut. And so other thing that you mentioned was commodities would benefit from inflation. And you wrote the book, I believe it's Hot Commodities. And I want to talk a little bit about commodities today with the audience, because I don't think inflation is going anywhere anytime soon. And so I think that we're here for, however long. This may be an inflationary decade. You've experienced inflation. And so I think we'll start there. So what's some of your experience with inflation? So you lived through the 70s and you experienced inflation during that time. How did it hit the pocketbook? What was the reaction of people around you experiencing the prices of goods and services go up and the dollar being devalued?
Well, yeah, I mean, every month, if not more, prices went up. It didn't matter if you went to the restaurant, no matter where you went to the movies, gasoline, everything was going up in price. The things that all of us use every day, food, gasoline, electricity, whatever, was always going up in price, and wages could not and did not keep up. And so everybody's standard of living was being reduced. If your wages went up by $100, but your rent went up by $150, you were behind the curve. And most people were behind the curve. But that's always been true throughout history, everywhere in the world. We didn't invent it. It's been going on for a long, long time. And it's happening again. Whenever I see people or I go out, I know, my gosh, look how much prices are up. And it's going to get worse.
Yeah, especially
unless you can do something about it, Daryl, and I doubt if anybody can.
Yeah, I know I can't do anything about it. I can only protect myself and try to educate the audience. But I mean, with the current administration, especially in the U.S., I mean, this is everywhere. I mean, there was massive money printing around the world. We saw M2 money supply go up drastically in the United States, and I mean, we have some irresponsible people that are in these positions, and sometimes I also think about, how the people that were before them actually made bad policies too, and so some people are just inheriting the hot potato, and so that's kind of what I think about with the presidencies. Like you have multiple years of presidents building up, making bad decisions, and then somebody, gets left holding the bag.
You get holding the bag. Me. They don't care about you and me. They just want to keep their jobs.
Yeah,
they're incompetent, Daryl. They're incompetent people. That's why they work for the government. They can't get a real job.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So you lived through the 70s. You experienced the gold rally then. We had another gold rally in the early 2000s. And now I believe we're experiencing another gold rally. What do you think is behind this? Do you think it's just more of like the history of gold and inflation, or is it like real interest rates? What are you thinking in terms of this gold rally that we're seeing?
Well, whenever prices go up, if you own the things that go up in price, you come out ahead. And throughout history, when people lose confidence in governments or money, they always buy gold and silver. I mean, here's my silver right here. I'm not selling it, not yet. Now, many people will say that the politicians will say, that's crazy. You shouldn't buy gold and silver. It's not going to do you any good. Okay, fine. But I'm an old peasant. I'm an old peasant. I like to have money over a little silver under the bed, a little gold in the closet, because I know that when things get bad, they will help protect me. But I own commodities because when prices go up, that's what goes up. So I'm trying to survive and make it through the next period of inflation is going to be long, not every week, not every month, but it's not going to be good. So I'm trying to protect myself.
Yeah, but Jim, I mean, Jerome Powell came out and he said that gold is a speculative asset.
I know they all say that. They've been saying it for hundreds of years. Whatever they want to call it, I don't mind, Daryl. I still have my silver. I still have my gold. Let them tell me I'm foolish all day long. It's okay with me. I'm going to keep a little over there in the closet and a little under the bed.
Yes, definitely. So what price would you sell? So like silver right now, $25 an ounce. Are you waiting for triple digit silver? What price would entice Jim Rogers to be like, okay, I think I'll sell some?
If silver goes under 20 again, of course, I'll have to buy some more silver. If gold goes to 1,700 or 15, you pick the number. I have no idea. I'm very bad at market timing. I usually let the market, Daryl, when I see despair and panic in a market, I start to listen. That doesn't mean I act, but I have learned that panic and despair are good signs for me to start thinking about buying. So I don't know what price. You tell me when the despair, when people call you up and say, yeah, gold is terrible, silver is horrible, then I'll get interested again.
Yep. So we're seeing with like this whole conflict with Russia and Ukraine. I know that Russia has been buying gold for a while. I actually recently saw a chart where their U.S. dollar holdings have went down and their gold holdings have went up, and they actually have more gold holdings than U.S. dollars. What's your take on how this is impacting gold? I mean, especially with them being sanctioned, I believe the SWIFT system or whatnot, and them being restricted in transaction in dollars. There's some speculation that they may end up selling oil for gold. What do you think what is that going to look like? What's your take on that?
Well, the Russians, not just the Russians, many people are starting to understand. When you have an international currency, it's supposed to be neutral. Anybody can use it for anything. Unfortunately, Washington has changed those rules, and Washington start putting sanctions on people so they cannot use US dollars. which is not the way an international currency is supposed to be. Now, unfortunately for us Americans, many countries are now starting to say, well, wait a minute, we have to find a competitor for the dollar, because otherwise, if somebody gets angry at us, and that's, I mean, Russia, Moscow started buying gold. China's been buying a lot of gold because they know that even if somebody just is wrong in Washington, it doesn't matter. If they cut you off, they cut you off. And so, and this is bad for the US dollar. The US dollar has been the world's currency for over 100 years. This is changing now, unfortunately, and Washington is shooting itself in the foot, is forcing people other currencies and other mediums of exchange. Is it good for you and me? No. Is it good for the bureaucrats? They think it is. It's not good for me and you, and it's not good for the world, certainly not good for the American world. But people are looking for alternatives, and one of the ones that the Russians and the Chinese and others know is gold and silver, including me. I'm a peasant. I'm not buying it for political reasons. Well, I guess I am. I want to be protected if and when.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been really pounding the wall on that, just talking to people, telling them how, it's unfortunate that politicians' decisions ultimately affect us, even thinking about the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. You got, children and people that have nothing to do with the politics dying. And I just think it's wrong that, that these leaders, in these positions are, making these decisions to hurt people that have nothing to do with it. And so that's kind of like why I go to my mind like, oh, well, almost like every man for himself situation, but like more of like me and my community. Like, I'm not worried about the politics. I'm going to protect myself. And so gold has definitely been the main way that I do that.
Well, you have to protect yourself or you'll be out on the street like everybody else. I mean, do I like it? No, I don't like it. I'd like to have just a simple life instead of having to always worry about what some politician is going to do. But I have learned I better worry. This whole thing in Ukraine, America instigated the coup in 2014. We started this whole thing. Now, of course, we blame it on somebody else. Which is the way politicians work. It's never their fault, Daryl. It's your fault. It's not their fault.
Yeah, and and Biden wants, I believe he wants the taxpayers to pay to support Ukraine billions of dollars, and I know that he's had some ties there, and there's a lot of other politicians that's had some ties there, and I mean, just even looking at just the prices of wheat and how it's just went up, like it's almost like a straight line up, Jim. And I know that a huge portion of the wheat is exported from Ukraine and Russia, and so we've talked about agriculture on the last episode that you were on. And so what's your take on the agriculture sector? I've been seeing some gains. I've been in a stock NTR Nutrien, and I think it's Nutrien or Nutria, one of those. But I've seen some gains in there, and I know that you mentioned you've been buying agriculture too.
Well, I own agriculture. Yeah, I own a lot of agricultural products. If they slow down, I'll probably buy some more. No, agriculture has been a disaster for decades. The average age of farmers in America is 58. More people in America study public relations than study farming. So agriculture's got to get more profitable, or we're not going to have any farmers. So I own it, and I will buy more. And whether we like it or not, money printing and supply demand lead to higher prices. And that's why I own it. I'm not trying to scare people or anything else. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to survive.
Yeah. And the truth, people have to be able to accept the truth. I know that sometimes the doom and gloom community can get out there. I had a guest by the name of Doomberg on recently, and we went down some of those rabbit holes. But it's just true. Like we have irresponsible government, irresponsible central bankers and all these different things that most of them are in it for themselves. And so people definitely have to protect themselves. So Jim, the whole thing with Russia, I mean, for me, how I'm looking at it is like Russia supplies a lot of oil and natural gas to Europe, especially Germany, who's made bad energy policies that have left their citizens with high energy costs and scarcity, scarce resources. So, how do you think this unfolds with Russia having so much leverage in the energy sector? And we know that energy is very, very important, and we're seeing how politicians are making policies and shutting down pipelines and all these types of things. How does this play out?
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, Russia is one of the largest producers of energy in the world and one of the largest producers of agricultural products in the world. Whether we like it or not, we cannot change those facts. And so that's prices, of course, are going to continue to skyrocket. Uh, my view is, and I have nothing to base it on except that I suspect this is going to calm down soon, because it's certainly not good for the Russians what's happening. It's not good for Mr. Putin. I don't know who or how somebody will come up a way for him to save face, but I think he's pretty much made his point now. And now everybody will be nicer to him, at least for a while. So in my view, it's going to calm down eventually or soon, and the markets will have a big rally. But Daryl, I'm just telling you that based on experience and feeling. I have no facts to back that up. But I do own agriculture and commodities, because I know war is always good for commodities.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And I've been getting into some heated debates and kind of Twitter engagements with people because before they stopped letting us buy the Russian equities, I was buying up. I mean, you talk about crisis investing and buying the most hated assets, and I mean, just think about just buying Russian stocks, and I have to separate my emotion from it, and let people know, like, yeah, I'm not supporting what they're doing, but United States companies have done some atrocious things too. And we still invest in there. They're in our 401ks and our retirement plans, So,
Well,
have you been buying Russian equities? Have you been looking there? I mean, some of those.
I own Russian equities. I haven't been buying them because the markets are closed. They closed the stock exchange, and most Russian equities, most Russian everything is not trading now, are not trading. So there's nothing I can do. I've learned in my experience and reading that when you buy panic, you usually do well, but unfortunately, panic is closed right now, so I cannot buy Russia. There's some Russian companies that have nothing to do with any of this. Russians who have nothing to do with this. They recently banned Russian para athletes from an athletic competition. I mean, most of them are against the war, and yet they're having to suffer because people say, "Oh, well, you're a para athlete, but you're from Russia," and they will say, "But we're against the war." They'll say, "Too bad, too bad, you must suffer."
Yeah, and that's been one of the I guess one of the points that haven't been really pointed out a whole lot is that even a lot of Russians are experiencing discrimination and things that they have no control over. And so it's just wild just how people's brains work, if they work at all.
Well, yes, I agree, but I'm old enough to know that there are lots of mistakes in life and lots of injustices, unfortunately.
So Jim, this this last topic that I want to talk about, I've been reading a couple of books. One book is the Fourth Turning. Another book is Changing World Order that Ray Dalio recently put out, and it talks a lot about these historical cycles of what we're seeing today. I mean, even right now, just seeming like it's crisis after crisis after crisis, and and even in the United States, just looking at the fourth turning in the prior 80 to 100 years, being the Great Depression and World War II. Before that was the Civil War, and then before that was the Revolutionary War. And so it talks about how these 80 to 100-year cycles always end up in a crisis situation. And then historically, you have things like the yin and the yang, peace and war, where people throughout history have always written about these specific cycles. What are you seeing in relation to that, and how this is playing out in our world, our society, and even in the U.S.?
Well, anybody who knows some history will know that the world is always changing, and everything that we thought was true in 1950 was not true 15 years later. Anything, pick any year, and you will see that everything people thought in 1900 was not true in 1915. But that's the way the world works. The main lesson of history, Darrell, is people do not learn the lessons of history. You can sit and say to them, this is what has always happened. And they say, who cares? You don't know what you're talking about. I'm smarter than history. We had a president recently who thought he was smarter than history. Well, I know I'm not smarter than history. And I know that this is the way the world has always worked. The world has always worked that people who are on top eventually go down, whether it's a currency or an economy or an army. And it's always worked that way. It's working that way now. America is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. Well, history is very clear. When you become the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, something is going to change, and it's not going to be good. So we have to understand that the world is always changing. If we don't understand the world is changing, we're going to get swept away and suffer badly. As I say, Darrell, I say one word. Everything we think is true today will not be true in 2037. It will change dramatically. We have to figure out how it's going to change to survive.
Yeah, definitely. Any tips you can leave the audience with? What are some things that, I know Jim Rogers isn't just oblivious to what's happening. I mean, you're over there stacking gold and silver. What are some other things that people can do to kind of prepare their minds, their spirits, their finances in these times?
Well, the first thing, of course, is to watch the Money Level show so that you can learn what's going on. And once you learn what's going on, you will become worried, and then you'll figure out a way to protect yourself. And the best way to protect yourself is to invest only in what you yourself know a lot about. I'll tell you what I'm doing, but don't listen to me. If you don't know how to invest in agriculture, please don't invest in agriculture. If you don't know how to invest in silver, please don't invest in silver. Invest in only what you yourself understand and know. That's how you will survive. If you listen to somebody on the internet and then things start going wrong, you don't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it in the first place. Or if things start going right, you don't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it in the first place. So if you stay with what you know, you will be successful. But then people will say to me, oh, but Jim, that's boring. Okay, be boring. You want to be successful, be boring.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jim, thank you for coming on to the show. We appreciate you and your time.
Darrell, it's always fun. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely.
I hope we both and all the viewers survive whatever's coming so we can do it again.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.